Welcome to another episode of the Cigar Ambassadors. We invite you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please hit the notification bell to be alerted to when our next episode is published.
Well, folks, today's episode, smoking in a COVID-19 environment. What are some of the things that you look for? What do you expect to do? And how do you conduct yourself as you go into and out of the lounge? Personally, I do understand and know that it's important to wear a mask when you go into certain environments, and going into a cigar lounge would be one of those environments. However, there are some things that you can't do with a mask. For instance, you can't sit in the lounge and have a cigar smoking a cigar with a mask on, right? Because that's impossible. But that's not just the only thing that's happening in the COVID-19 environment within the lounge. Bob, what about the access to the humidor?
Well, it's interesting, Louis. I've seen a variety of things going on. You have lounges, I think as we've discussed, where there are no COVID-19 protocols in effect at all. Mm-hmm. No masks, no limitations, no social distancing, nothing. By the same token, I've seen a lot of restrictions placed on humidors, and there are definitely a number of lounges where you have no access to the humidor. So you'd better know what that shop is carrying. Yeah. Or in the case of one lounge that I frequented in the Austin area, you're either a regular there or you're not going to recognize anything in its humidor anyway. But the proprietor there is quite good at questioning you on what your smoking habits are and finding something that will accommodate that. So I've seen these lounges that, again, have no humidor access. Beyond that, what I'm seeing is a requirement for masks. Mm-hmm. Small humidors, I've seen limitations on one customer at a time. Mm-hmm. A couple of a little more unique aspects, given the fact that you have people touching things. Yeah. Touching cigars, touching surfaces. Some lounges are requiring that you use hand sanitizer before entering the lounge. Mm-hmm. One I thought was really interesting, a lounge in Texas, was actually requiring you to put on a food service glove so that anything you touched in there would have that glove on it. So I thought that was interesting in terms of humidor access.
Yeah, no, that's really a good thing to do and to know when in fact there's transference, right? So whatever you touch, you're transferring what's on your hands to that particular item. And God only knows what some people are touching before they even come into a humidor, right? You know, there's, the scratch and sniff and itch and all that.
No kidding.
Yeah. But, ventilation would be another important factor for any cigar lounge, too. And there are so many things that are happening and so many other things where they're not making a particular change. I just read an article where one area in Pennsylvania, I can't promote them, but I can tell you what they're doing. And they've actually upgraded their air filtration system to meet hospital grade requirements, where the HEPA filter is installed, and it's the same thing they would use in most hospitals. And as you know, they have a pretty sterile environment in hospitals. They put in a ionic purification system in their HVAC ducts, and so you get things from one end of the spectrum to the other. Is where I'm going with this, is that some are doing something, some are doing nothing, and some are doing a lot to make sure that in their lounge you're protected, they're protected, because it's a public place, right? A lot of folks come in from off the street to buy cigars. You don't know them. They're not family members that you hang out with every day. So you got to protect yourself and you got to protect your clientele. Kudos to those that are doing anything. But what does it matter to you if you're going in there? Do you care about that? I do.
I do as well. And if I'm seeing smoke hanging in the air in a lounge, that gives me some pause. Yeah. Right? I want to at least see some circulation of air going on.
And then there's
social distancing. It's interesting because you alluded to earlier the fact that you can't wear a mask while you're smoking, and the generally accepted criteria is 6 feet, 10 minutes, right?
Right.
When I'm going into a lounge, I'm planning on being there more than 10 minutes.
Right.
Usually 90 minutes, 2 hours, maybe longer. So what are lounges doing for social distancing? Again, we'll go back to, there are some lounges that are doing absolutely nothing. And the reality is, I'm not going to smoke there.
Right.
But beyond that, I've seen a variety of things. I've seen lounges now that have removed chairs and reconfigured their lounges. I have seen a reservation system, and actually a couple of different reservation systems. So you've got to call ahead and reserve your time. In some cases, they're limiting the total number of people that they will allow in that lounge to smoke in the lounge. In other cases, in one case, and I thought it was really interesting, the lounge is set up in pods that are designed to accommodate about 4 people. And you can make a reservation for anywhere from 1 to 4 people. And then you do have some distancing between the chairs in those pods, but it's not 6 feet. So if you want to be there with your friends and you are all good with that, you can make a reservation for 4. You want a pod to yourself, you can make a reservation for 1. And then there's a limit on the number of pods that those reservations go to. So if you want to smoke alone and be truly socially distanced, you have the ability to do that. And I thought that was a really thoughtful way of doing it. And the proprietor there is, making a sacrifice in terms of his lounge space to accommodate people that want social distancing. So I think social distancing is important for us to consider in a lounge environment. You have to decide for yourself how important it is for you and who you're willing to smoke with in a more closed environment.
And I would imagine there's a certain time limit on that, where the average cigar smoking is anywhere to an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, right?
Yes, and I'd add one thing to that. The lounge that is doing those pods is actually sanitizing between guests in those pods.
Oh, great. So then we have most of the elements of what we're looking for in a lounge covered. Is mask, no mask, access to a humidor, the behavior in the humidor, some tight spaces, right? So there are various requirements whether you have access or no access to that. And if you go into the lounge like you mentioned, where the proprietor is the one picking it up for you, well, you better know what you like to smoke.
Yes, you bet.
And then there's social distancing and so forth. And so what we like to know is what are some of the things that you look for in a lounge when you're going into a lounge? Or does it even matter?
Or are you going into lounges these days?
Good question. I do a lot of my smoking at home and in another space as well, where we gather with friends and we're outdoors. We don't have to worry about the air circulation or any filtration because we're outdoors and we're 6 feet apart from each other, and we wind up having a great time smoking and enjoying nature. Well, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Bob.
I think that covers it from what I've both observed and what's important to me in terms of looking for a lounge in this environment. And I think we all need to take into account the environments that we're choosing to be in. I still love to smoke. The weather isn't always conducive to smoking outside. But again, we'd appreciate your thoughts. Send us a comment. Tell us what your lounge is doing and what you'd like to see.
Well, folks, thank you again for joining us today. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you next time. As Bob just said, please hit that notification bell to be alerted when our next episode is published. Until next time, we're the Cigar Ambassadors.